Just a quick update on how this drawing is progressing so far. I think it's been about a week since I posted the last video, so I thought I would show you some of the progress that's been made so far. So I'm still on the line stage, still doing all the line work, which is really quite important actually, because it's the line work which is how I figure out the perspective, the anatomy of the figures, the proportions, and the detail on the armor as well. So I like to stay in this stage for as long as I possibly can so that the rendering stage is a lot easier. And then, so once I finish this stage, I've really got to think about getting some shadows in there. So what I will do, once I've completed some of the line work, you can see I've got to do a bit more detail on this side of the drawing. I'm then going to start calculating the position of some of the shadows of these figures. I don't draw them perfectly when it comes to human figures. There are books that you can research about architectural drawing, which teaches you how to cast shadows properly. And those are some really useful books. You can just Google it. There'll be loads. There's quite a few on the subject. But when it comes to human figures, I prefer to just keep them a bit looser and a little bit more dynamic. And rather than focus on what looks accurate, I like to try and focus on what looks good. So when it comes to casting shadows from figures, I spend a bit more time trying to think about the design of those shapes rather than what's actually realistic. But I will have to calculate just a couple here and there just to figure out exactly what direction they're going to be going towards, where the shadows will fall. You can see that, you know, there's a bit of a crowd here in this scene. There's like multiple figures, which means that, you know, the shadows of these guys in the foreground will be falling onto some of these guys in the background. And it's just those kind of things that I need to think about. So yeah, I'm happy with how it's progressing. I'm about 2.5 weeks, I think, into the drawing. So, I mean, it's not progressing. It's not the fastest drawing, but it's pretty large and it's pretty detailed. So I didn't really expect it to be. But I've not really spent that much time on it, really, all in all. I've taken plenty of breaks in between sessions, and I only spend maybe an hour or two, maybe 3 hours each day just sketching away at it. But I don't, like I said, I don't really work on it every day. I've had a few days off from it during these weeks. And that's the thing, because when you're working on a big drawing like this, it can get pretty tedious. So I like to break up the monotony by working on other drawings. I also like to go back into my sketchbook and do a few drawing exercises, just as a way of breaking up some of the tedium, because it does get tedious when you're just scratching away at one drawing, and you know, it's a big one and it's going to take time. So it's always good to work on other drawings at the same time, just to keep things fresh. So just kind of zooming in on some of the detail here. So you can see some of those figures in the background are a little bit more basic. As you know, as the figures start traveling away towards the horizon line, they will have less detail. And then some of these figures in the foreground are going to be a lot more detailed, obviously. And I still need to draw in more figures to fill in some of the gaps. You can see I've started up one on here. I'm going to squeeze another one, maybe a couple around here. Get some of those Roman shields sort of poking out from behind the horse and this figure here. Because I love the design of these shields. They just look great. And so I really want to get some more of those in because they just look awesome. You can see there's some Roman shields here just tucked away behind those figures. They just look, I don't know, I just love how they appear. I just love the appearance of it. I think it's just that sort of rectangular appearance right next to these really dynamic figures. I think it's just an awesome compositional tool. So Yeah, I've always loved Roman legions and how they look. And of course, I've got to get some more figures behind these guys, somewhere around here, maybe off into the distance. So yeah, still a fair bit of line work to do, but it's coming along. It's actually pretty much almost finished. So once I've done the line work, I then sketch in some of the positions of the shadows, still using lines. I like to stay in this stage for as long as I possibly can because, again, the more of these problems I can figure out during this stage, the easier the later stages are going to be. The rendering is going to be pretty time consuming, and once I've started shading, that's pretty much it. I can't really make any changes to the drawing at that point. So while everything is still a bunch of lines, I can make as many adjustments as I feel the need to. And I've made a few adjustments here or there, quite a few actually. I've kind of fixed the position of this guy's legs. I don't know, I'm still not 100% sold on it, but it doesn't look as bad as it did before, so I'm happy about that. It's definitely an improvement. But maybe I'll play around with that. I might push that foot back a bit further, because it kind of looks like he's just sort of standing awkwardly. It doesn't really look like he's walking, like marching forward. So yeah, something's got to be done about that. So I'll think about that, I reckon. But and yeah, of course I've got this guy's whole outfit to draw, which I'm not sure, what do I want to do with him? I think I might give him like an animal fur coat, maybe like a wolf, just like this guy. Yeah, just to kind of separate him from the rest of these standard legionaries. They didn't always wear fur coats, these guys, you know, like they sometimes just wore the standard uniform from what I've researched, but I just want to sort of differentiate these figures in the foreground from the rest of the standard soldiers, just for design purposes, really. So yeah, I'm still making some design decisions and making some changes here and there, but overall, I'm quite happy with where it's going. Yeah, I'm quite happy with the figures, their postures, their positions, their movements. It's all looking pretty natural. And it looks cool now that I've started drawing in the detail. There's a guy actually right there I need to fill out a little bit more. He's looking a little bit ghost-like. There's a face here. So you'll notice I've also started sketching in the faces as well, which I'll need to go over them again because they look a little bit wonky. That's kind of my process for sketching faces. I just kind of draw them in lightly, shade them in a little bit just to see what those shadow shapes might look like, and then I kind of just go over it and over it until I get a much more polished result out of it. But yeah, no, it's looking pretty cool. The line work actually looks quite dark in this video, but on the actual page itself, it's actually a lot lighter. So, but I don't mind that the lines appear darker in the video because it helps you to see what's going on a bit more. But yeah, there's still a bit left to do in this stage. But the next stage after this will be casting some very basic shadows, focusing more on the design of them more than anything. And then after that, I can start the rendering, which I'm looking forward to.